So now it's become apparent. Rumors are swirling from inside Disney and Lucasfilm that the reason why Star Wars Starfighter is such a male-dominated movie, Ryan Gosling being the leading actor, Matt Smith the supporting actor, they just released this screenshot with Flynn Gray and Ryan Gosling. Insiders are saying that this is how they pivot to a more male-dominated cinematic features, because as it pertains to theaters, the sequel trilogy had a female lead with Rey. Now they want more male-dominated movies like Mandalorian and Grogu. That's a male-dominated movie. Now Starfighter as well. Of course, let's not forget about the reports that Disney is desperately trying to bring back the male audience that they kind of lost with not only Star Wars but with Marvel and all the things in between that they tried to bring in more female viewers. Now that seemingly it kind of failed, they want the Gen Z males to come back to Marvel and Star Wars. How do they do this? Well, I can guarantee you that they can't do it with another Rey trilogy. By what we saw in Star Wars Celebration 2025 in Japan, Kathleen Kennedy, although reveals that lacked any Daisy Ridley updates, coupled with Fantastic Four kind of flopping in the box office, and Bob Iger literally coming out, giving out a statement regarding this, gives me a clear path for the Daisy Ridley movies, the new Jedi Order movie, and apparently it is slowly being cancelled as with other projects.
Hello there.
Hello there folks, welcome. Today I want to convince you 100% that they are no longer moving on with any new Jedi Order or new anything projects. If you get a new in your title, people are not going to be interested. People are not interested in classic characters like the Fantastic Four and like Superman. So you go to the box office right now and you see a mediocre showing of fandom. So fans are going the first opening weekends, giving their money, and then weekend 2 comes by and just it's a steep drop off. So basically what's happening is that fans literally, as we've talked about for years and years, showing their frustration and complaints with their own wallets. And this, guys, if you look at it, has kind of been made clear with Star Wars Celebration 2025. So in that celebration, what did we get? We got some guests that we've seen before, some new guests, most notably Sean Levy, Ryan Gosling. They showed the new logo and talked about Star Wars Starfighter, a movie that is going to be coming out very soon after Mandalorian and Grogu. So Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau, all of them talked about what can we expect from Mandalorian and Grogu. I've said previously that we have a schism in Lucasfilm between Kathleen Kennedy and Dave Filoni. So what's Dave Filoni doing? Dave Filoni is taking the canon that was previous to Disney. So the canon, the EU of George Lucas and him. Don't forget that Dave Filoni was the guy who ingratiated all the Legends material back into canon with his show Star Wars Rebels, with The Mandalorian now. So a lot of stuff has made it into canon thanks to Dave Filoni. What has Kathleen Kennedy done? Kathleen Kennedy, as I understand their roles right now, she is only looking for new opportunities to work with new directors. She said this in an interview herself. She said that we're in a perfect position to just lend out the Star Wars IP to anybody who has a story to tell. I'm interested in working with those people creating new projects.
What?
She's literally telling you why the fans are so frustrated today, because you have a schism. You have Dave Filoni, who is respecting what is there and trying to expand on it. There is a lot of material. If it wasn't, how could Dave Filoni have come up with The Mandalorian? How can he and George have come up with The Clone Wars? This is a totally different genre outside of the movies. And now he is making his first own movie in Mandalorian and Grogu. So expanding on an original idea, but in-house, not going outsourcing out of it. New original ideas that basically will just tarnish Star Wars. It has been already proven that the true fans of Star Wars were the original ones who worked at Lucasfilm with George Lucas closely. These are passionate fans that want to create and expand Star Wars, while all these other types like J.J. Abrams, Rian Johnson, we know the nightmare fuel that they brought into Star Wars. It wasn't a collaborative effort at all. They just did what they wanted, and the sequel trilogy as a result suffered so badly that it's incoherent. If you go back and watch the sequel trilogy, it's an embarrassment. It's just an embarrassment. There's nothing more to add or to say to that. So let's set aside the fact that Kathleen Kennedy doesn't understand how to move on in the future with Star Wars. Now we have the diminishing returns of Fantastic Four and kind of Superman. The Superman movie is okay, is doing okay in the box office, but it wasn't what, the first movie in your relaunched franchise was supposed to be. It definitely is not going to be a billion-dollar movie, which these studios have come accustomed to being. Alright, so Bob Iger just recently came out in regards to the Fantastic Four movie and it not doing so well. He was kind of forced to come out and say, the more we can find and develop original property, the better. Of course, we are developing original property under the 20th Century banner and under the Searchlight banner, and look, you could even argue that Marvel continues to mine its library of characters for original property. Even though, for instance, there have been Fantastic Four movies before, we kind of consider the one we did an original property in many respects, because we're introducing these characters to the people who are unfamiliar with them. Fantastic Four First Steps successfully launched this important franchise into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Classic Bob Iger, baby, a nothing burger. He didn't really say a lot, but if you read between the lines, this is what he's saying. So the Fantastic Four First Steps did. He is right. It did successfully launch. As I said in the beginning of the video, this is an illusion. What is happening now is that these are no longer pop culture movies, and we're getting to the basics of the problem. I don't think they can ever go back to that because the leadership lacks in imagination and they can't understand what the problem is. Why aren't people flocking to it? Marvel movies and Star Wars movies especially have completely lost their mojo. It's gonna be really interesting to see what Dave Filoni does with the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, because let's not forget, in 2026, when Mandalorian and Grogu comes out, it's gonna be, since 2019, it's gonna be 7 years since a Star Wars movie was released. If we compare Revenge of the Sith, for example, with The Force Awakens, that's 10 years, from 2005 to 2015. It's kind of there. It's kind of in that area. Not 10 years, but 7 years is a good enough gap with no movies in the theater. So let's see what The Mandalorian and Grogu does before we judge what Star Wars come back. The problem is that even if The Mandalorian and Grogu comes out, Kathleen Kennedy being still there, she is planning to do all sorts of non sequitur movies. Movies that go back 25,000 years at the beginning of the Jedi Order, while Dave Filoni is making movies after Return of the Jedi. It's completely baffling to me how there's no connectivity. It's just a mishmash of movies. Whoever wants to come and do whatever they like, and this is my frustration right now. But I think this idea might have finally been scrapped thanks to Bob Iger coming out and literally acknowledging a kind of a stumbling. He is trying to save face, saying that there have been Fantastic Four movies in the past. Maybe that's why this was a successful launch, but it's not going to be the biggest Marvel movie in the franchise. The problem is he sees the writing on the wall. First weekend, everybody's going to go and see it. The fandom, the real fans. And then nobody's going to go watch because you need the regular dude, the regular people, the people who are not crazy fans, but will just go watch a movie because it's funny. It's interesting. This is why Deadpool and Wolverine worked. It's because Deadpool is a hilarious character to the normies. You have fans and you have normies flocking together. Wolverine, a classic character. Since decades and decades, people know about it. Hugh Jackman coming back to play Wolverine again. So, two classic characters coming back in a hilarious kind of action comedy, and it just serves the normies more so than the fans. You have something for the fans and something for the normies. This is how you get the big bucks. And by what I've read, what Dave Filoni has said about The Mandalorian and Grogu, I think he is going back to that. He is going back to the classics, where it isn't just about lore and just ultimate fans coming to watch the movie, knowing everything, how it connects to the universe, but it's just going to be also about regular folk that come into the cinema, enjoy the movie, go out and say, okay, that was fun, that was a good movie. Word of mouth will spread, more people will flock to it, come watch it, and that's how it goes. If you watch the Fantastic Four, it's a good movie, but but most of these movies now have become bland. The problem with it is, first of all, the retro look has become boring. So in the Fantastic Four, for me, the retro look was good and thought of, but it is already played out to such a humongous level that it's become boring. Then you have Galactus, then you have the Silver Surfer, then you have Franklin Richards, Sue's kid. So there's so much, they're throwing so much at you, and the post-credit scene is literally Doctor Doom getting his face healed by Franklin Richards. So there's so much into it that normies are just gonna go, huh? What? So they're not gonna get it. This is, I feel, how they lost their track and lost their path. I had the same problem with Superman. Superman is a classic tale. It's a great movie. You should go watch it. It's a refreshing restart. James Gunn did a good job. My problem with it, of course, there's a myriad of characters. Good guys, anti-heroes, bad guys. There's so much to keep track of. I feel the frustration. I literally do. Luke Skywalker perhaps returning to the silver screen again. Imagine how exciting that would be, and why Kathleen Kennedy hasn't done it in freaking 15 years. I just don't get it. I don't understand it. Luke Skywalker, I'm talking about a prime Luke Skywalker, mind you, not a decrepit sequel trilogy Luke Skywalker, but what do I know? I've been a Star Wars fan since I was a kid, and Kathleen Kennedy is a billionaire CEO, so good thinking. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'm gonna see you soon, but until then, may the Force be with you.